Dangers that come with oral contraceptives are going to be possibility of blood clots, number one. The good news is when you're younger, your chances for having blood clots are very low. When you smoke, when you're over the age of 35, when you've had bad health habits in the past, those are all things that are going to decrease or increase your chance for having problems on oral contraceptives. As far as with oral contraceptives and problems, you know, with the mood swings you're saying, it really depends on if you're fitted to your birth control right. For me, that's kind of where I come in, is I try and say, you know, what's your health habits and what works good for you? Are you typically a moody person? Do you have heavy periods? You know, because my goal is to not only give you a contraceptive, put you on something that's going to work for you contraceptively, but also improve mood swings and improve your periods. So it really depends on, you know, if you're a small person, you know, you weigh 110 pounds, you don't need this much hormone to make sure that you don't get pregnant. You only need this much hormone. So a lot of birth control is actually getting fit to the contraceptive that really is going to work best for you. And so a lot of times if someone's having horrible side effects with birth control, I basically start over again from the beginning and say, okay, tell me what's going on. Are we having bleeding? Are we having cramping? Are we having a lot of mood swings? Because that means that I haven't fit them right, that I haven't got them on something that's going to really work for them. You know, there are some people that everything I've tried, you know, they just do not do very good on birth control. And you never know who those people are going to be. But yes, there are definitely people that, you know, no matter what I put them on, I have something called a NuvaRing that is actually a ring you put in vaginally, and it's very low dose, you know, goes about 15 mics a day. So it's one of the lowest possible forms of birth control. And I still have people have bad reactions and not do good on it. And so I tell people, you know, we can try and see how you're going to react. But when you have really bad reactions or you just turn into a crazy person, you know, yes, there are some people that just do not do very well on oral contraceptives. Yes, there are some that have more side effects than others. It really depends on your size. Smaller people can have lower doses of hormone. And it depends, even if let's say you're only 120 pounds, but you have really heavy periods that have a lot of clotting, I'm going to put you on a higher estrogen and progesterone level to try and help stifle that. But yes, there are going to be side effects from that because I'm giving you more hormones. You know, a lot of times if we were to talk to our mothers and our grandmothers, you know, they'd say, oh my goodness, when I went on birth control, it was horrible. You know, I had headaches, I was throwing up for 3 weeks, I gained 30 pounds, you know, and a lot of times that's because there used to be almost all contraceptives back then were very high levels of hormone, you know, so now I only use those very high levels of hormone if I have extreme problems like bleeding that I can't get controlled, or people are really large, you know, and I have to use the higher level of hormones. But typically we shy away from using hormones that are really, really elevated. But those are going to be like your NorQDs and really high, like 50 mic pills. People are not extremely educated when they come in here. I would say most people when they come in here have heard a lot about, I'd say more rumors, old wives' tales, things that they're not really clear on. A lot of times though, the most common thing I get from people is that they can't have children afterwards. You know, a lot of times that's probably one of the #1 myths that I'd like to get out of the way is people will think if I take oral contraceptive, you know, if I do this for 3 years, let's say I'm on low estrogen for 3 years, very low dose, you know, they would be scared they wouldn't be able to have children after that. And that is a myth. There are certain types of contraceptives that will decrease your return to fertility, but oral contraceptives aren't one of them. Another thing is sometimes they are not as educated on the risks of contraceptives. That would be, the possibility of blood clots. They'll see commercials about Yaz on TV, because that's a hot one right now, about possibility for having blood clots. All birth controls have the possibility for blood clots, and I like people to know that. All birth controls have the possibility for having mood swings and nausea, regardless of how hard I try to make it a pleasant experience. Sometimes there are going to be side effects with any type of oral contraceptive. Yes, one of them is any pain in their legs. If they start to have excruciating pain in their legs or a really bad pain in their side, those are basically pulmonary embolus, blood clots in your legs, things like that. They do not happen very often when you are younger. That's typically something that's going to happen when you get a little bit older, but I always warn people about that. But for me also with side effects, I always tell people, if you're really nauseated, almost to the point where you're like, I think I actually might be pregnant, that also is a side effect that I think needs to be dealt with. Or I am gaining weight. To me, obesity is a huge issue. And so to me, if I give somebody or start somebody on a contraceptive and they're like, I've put on 20 pounds in the last 2 months, and I'm getting married, so I've been watching what I'm eating, I'm exercising, that's a red flag for me. So of course we have this standard, be concerned about any type of blood clots, or but to me it's also the nausea, the weight gain. Those are also things that can be devastating to our health. So a lot of times, with younger people, would I be really concerned about having blood clots? Probably not, but I would be really concerned about having, other problems and side effects that aren't getting treated or they're not seeking treatment for. My best advice is to always find something to research a little bit before they come in, so they kind of know the difference between, say, a NuvaRing or low estrogen or Junel or an IUD even, or an Implanon. It is so helpful when someone sits down, they're like, I've done a lot of research and I don't think I'll ever want to do the Ortho Ever patch because it has a really high level of hormones and I just don't think I could handle that. Or, I've heard about the NuvaRing and I love the fact that I don't get a lot of hormone through it. So to me, it's researching it, really know what you want. Also talk to other people, see what works well for other people, So if you have friends that are already married and have been on birth control, say, what have you tried? What did you like? What works for you? Of course, all birth controls react differently to people, and that's why we have so many of them. But it is worth people's time to really get out there and research it. I'm never going to look at somebody and say, oh, I can't believe you asked me that question. That's ridiculous, To me, when somebody comes in and they already know, oh yeah, I've heard of this, I haven't heard of this, it actually makes it so that I can have a more in-depth conversation with somebody and talk to them about, oh, do you want a monophasic birth control? Do you want a triphasic birth control? Do you want a low-dose birth control? And then it also can lead into things of future plans, future pregnancies. When do you desire to become pregnant? How many children do you want to have? So it really it works best. So for my advice is do some research, kind of know a little bit about it, and don't rely so much on what our moms say or what we've heard from other people. Really just get on, try and look for websites that talk more about, like Mayo Clinic is a good website. You can even go on to a lot of birth control websites that have very accurate information. But really educate is the best tool to really understand contraceptives.